Jesus, Scott, you look like man. What happened?
I don't know, I got wasted last night, and my phone says I texted someone at 3:15 asking them to beat me up, and then at 4:30 I texted the same person saying thanks.
And you don't remember it?
No, same as last time.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Benny. At the end of last week, there was a bombshell revelation of all of the 911 calls, the security camera footage, and the officer body cam footage of the Paul Pelosi hammer attack. Now, how do you explain all of this? There are many questions about this attack. Many people have some very legitimate concerns about what was found in these videos, and more questions than answers at times. You ever heard of Occam's razor? Occam's razor is the statistical supposition that says that the least amount of assumptions to get to a certain conclusion is probably the right conclusion. So what are the least amount of assumptions about what happened to Paul Pelosi that night, now given this brand new footage? Well, let's break down the actual attack itself based on the body cam footage of Paul Pelosi that night. Let's hop right into it here. Here is the body camera footage. This is the street. This is the street that Paul Pelosi lives on. I've actually been there before. Not because I was invited to Paul Pelosi's house or anything, but because we were filming a documentary.
2640. Oh. Yeah, it literally said in that.
You can hear the officer talking. They're in there, he says. Here comes the first thing that has people very curious about what's going on here. Who opened the door? Look at that. The door sort of like swings open strangely. And you can see that Paul Pelosi has his hand over here holding a drink, actually. We'll show you that in another frame. And then he has his other hand sort of with a hammer, holding a hammer with David DePape, the attacker there. Again, who opens the door here? What is he opening the door with the hammer hand? It's so confusing. People are asking a lot of questions about this. People are saying there might be a third person there. That's not the police report.
How you doing? Oh, yeah.
Paul Pelosi is now, you can see there very clearly, Paul Pelosi is holding a drink. He's holding a drink of some kind. We don't know what's in the drink. We don't know if it's booze. We don't know if it's water. But we actually have a theory about this, and we'll tell you that in a second. Here's Paul Pelosi holding a hammer. Why don't you drop the drink, Paul, and grab the hammer with both hands? If you, I mean, again, none of it makes any sense. Paul Pelosi is in his underwear. That was right, okay, what people said about Pelosi being in his underwear here. And then they had a strange occurrence here when addressed by the officers.
What's going on, man?
Everything's good.
Everything's good, says David DePape. Paul Pelosi says,
Hi.
Paul Pelosi says, hi. And he smiles. You can see Paul Pelosi grinning there. Look, you can see his teeth. He's flashing his teeth.
Hi.
Paul Pelosi says, hi. There, he's smiling. Why? Paul Pelosi has a drink. He's smiling. He's holding the hammer. David DePape clearly holding Paul Pelosi's arm, then the hammer together, right? They're sort of like kind of fighting over the hammer. But if you really wanted to fight someone for a hammer, wouldn't you drop your drink and like grab it with
Drop
both
the
hands?
hammer.
Drop the hammer, says the officer. David DePape says no.
No.
Hey.
And then Paul Pelosi, drink still in hand.
What is going on right
I'm
now?
not getting an answer on call.
What's going on? And then the attack occurs. Okay, so what do we make of this? Because there's a lot of like very curious things about this video in and of itself, right? You can see, you can see here they struggle for a hammer here from NPR. The way that this is being couched is nobody really knows what's going on here. Like nobody's quite sure about what's happening with, inside of this circumstance, except for the video itself is very, very curious, right? You can see Pelosi and the sort of struggle for the hammer. Paul Pelosi, again, not dropping his drink. They're in the struggle for the hammer. Now, what do we believe is actually happening here? Well, there's a lot of confusion, particularly for, like, why did law enforcement have such a terrible response to all of this? Law enforcement was supposed to have monitoring
officer
on,
as well as
monitoring on the Pelosi household. You can see here David DePape smashing into the house with his hammer, very loud, ripping through a door. Where's your security system? Where are the surveillance video monitors? Shouldn't you be monitoring this? Capitol Police have a giant budget. Why are they not monitoring this household? I mean, there's so many questions here about this strange behavior and, again, the strange behavior of Paul Pelosi on his 911 call. Again, Paul Pelosi was allowed to get a drink for himself, whatever was in that cup, we do not know. Paul Pelosi was allowed to then make a phone call to 911, and David DePape then outed who he was to the 911 operator?
Anyway, this gentleman says that he thinks everything ought to, he told me to put the phone down and just do what he says.
18 seconds.
Okay?
Okay, what's the gentleman's name?
I don't know. What's that? My name's David. The name is David.
So you're on a 911 call and you tell everyone your name? Paul Pelosi sounded very, very confused on this call. Ladies and gentlemen, and also, as you can go back and you can see that like a reporter was suspended for talking about this attack accurately. Calls for transparency from NBC grow louder as the Paul Pelosi body cam footage is released, saying that Miguel Aguilar's infamous report, which was retracted, was actually 100% correct. NBC needed to be transparent. Why was this guy suspended for a correct report saying that Paul Pelosi didn't declare an emergency and he didn't act panicked? He was like happy and wobbling around and smiling, and he had a drink in his hand. He called 911, and David DePape told 911 who he was. Well, we have a theory. This is our theory. Based on Occam's razor, based on the facts of the case, based on what we know about Paul Pelosi, our theory is, in essence, this. Paul Pelosi was drunk. That's it. Paul Pelosi was drunk. Okay? Paul Pelosi has a problem with alcohol. Paul Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's husband, sentenced to 5 days in jail for DUI. Paul Pelosi pleads guilty to DUI with injury charges. This was from just a few months, August 23rd, 2 months before the attack on Paul Pelosi. Paul Pelosi was convicted in Napa Superior Court on charges filed in Napa County District Attorney based upon an automobile collision, driving under the influence and arrest. Paul Pelosi pled guilty to the charges, driving under the influence of alcohol, causing injury. Paul Pelosi drinks and is irresponsible with his drinking. He's age 2. He probably can't handle his liquor. He drinks a lot. They have a house, a mansion actually, out in Napa Valley, the Pelosi's. Insider trading gets you a lot of nice little things. And Paul Pelosi drove drunk. Paul Pelosi is a known drunk. And Paul Pelosi, my contention here is that Paul Pelosi, when home alone, hits the bottle. I mean, that's pretty evident here, ladies and gentlemen. He's pleading guilty and spending time in jail. Having a blood alcohol level of 0.8. Later, Pelosi has to go to jail and pay a fine. Medical bills and lost wages for the person that he slammed into. I think Paul Pelosi has a problem with alcohol. Paul Pelosi was acting drunk and belligerent here. That explains the smiling, the grinning, the wobbling, the going and getting of maybe a glass of water. Because when you've had too much to drink and you wake up in the middle of the night, or somebody wakes you up in the middle of the night, you're confused, so you want to go get a glass of water because you're thirsty because you drank too much. That explains the call to 911 where Paul Pelosi sounded deeply confused. The 911 operator in the full call nearly hangs up on Paul Pelosi because she's like, "You're not making any sense. Paul Pelosi didn't make sense." In that call, it kind of explains that. And if you watch Paul Pelosi's the other body cam footage, not body cam, cop car footage of Paul Pelosi's arrest for drunk driving in Napa Valley, you can sort of see him behave exactly the same way.
You feel like you're not impaired, we could just skip to doing a breath test. Yeah, you can grab onto my shoulders. Yeah, so feet together, arms on your sides. You're going to look up at the sky, and then you're going to close your eyes, and then I'm going to say begin. And I don't want you to injure yourself. Would you be willing to do the breathalyzer test? And I wouldn't want you to fall over and hurt yourself. Are you sure you could complete the test? Okay. Because I really don't want you to fall over and hurt yourself. That's the last thing I'll... Right, but that defeats the whole purpose of the test, grabbing onto a throw car.
See,
I'm requesting that you take
Paul Pelosi can't
a
pass a breathalyzer test. Paul Pelosi...
It's a voluntary test.
Paul Pelosi can't stand. He's grabbing onto the cop car. They're trying to do a breathalyzer test. Paul Pelosi can't even stand up straight. He's grinning. He's swaying. He's acting like a bit of a goof. Then he tried to bribe his way out of the situation using his political power.
And when Paulie realized things weren't really going his way, he pulled a, do you know who I am? Wait. Can we hear that one more time? And then this time keep it rolling?
Right. No, I understand who you are, and I'm not here to try to do anything to draw any negative attention to you.
This is Paul Pelosi saying, I'm a high-profile person. You can't arrest me. This is the way that Paul Pelosi approaches a significant situation that may cause stress. I am famous. I am rich. My wife is powerful. How do I get out of this? And that seems like the same kind of like inebriated swagger that Paul Pelosi brought to this attack in the first place. So that's our contention. And it's also the contention of the district attorney there in San Francisco, who's a rabid left-winger, who said that Paul Pelosi is going to have to answer for his strange behavior that night.
Fair share of conspiracy theories about what actually happened that night. As part of your investigation, are you able to shed any light as to why Paul Pelosi didn't run out of the house towards police officers when he was able to actually open the door for them when they arrived?
What I'm not able to do is to speculate or try to place my opinions on why someone acted the way they did in any case. All we have is what happened. Everybody reacts to situations differently, and he will one day need to explain, right, to potentially a jury why he did what he did, and what thought process was going on in his mind.
So again, Paul Pelosi's acting drunk, okay? I've been drunk in my life. I love to drink bourbon, by the way. You know, I'm a parent. I got 2 little kids. You can't really, and you got to work. And so I've actually reduced my drinking a significant amount. And I think that's helped my life out a lot. I encourage you, if you're struggling, to do the same. But I'll tell you, man, as you look through the evidence and as you watch Paul Pelosi in these videos, it seems like he's had too much to drink and that he was woken up. According to court documents, he was woken up. You can see David DePape break into his house. He gets woken up by this guy. The cops and the people monitoring those cameras, they failed. And David DePape, who's also out of his mind, we know this man to be a massive drug abuser. The two of them, Paul Pelosi inebriated, David DePape maybe on psychedelic drugs. The two of them like have a Dumb and Dumber sort of exchange. And that's what creates sort of the strangeness of the video. We still can't explain the door opening by itself. That's still a little weird. But I think that this explains quite a bit of what's going on. The final thing that we'll say is that we've been to San Francisco. We have an entire documentary on it. We'll put it at the end of the video here, a link to it. And that's a very unsafe place. We were robbed in front of the Pelosi's house. And so this is what you get when you create the downfall of humanity and you turn your city into a cesspool of lawlessness, is no one is safe. Doesn't matter how many cops you try and bribe out of drunk driving tickets, no one is safe. Becomes like Gotham. And so that's what occurs when you rule through chaos and lawlessness. It's also how the Pelosi's, of course, got filthy rich. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this breakdown. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think something more nefarious is afoot? I think this makes a lot of sense, but I want to hear your opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, even though San Francisco exists in America, America is still the greatest country in the world. We fight for her, and we continue our fight. We are joyous, and we fight alongside you. And thank you so much for watching. My name is Benny Johnson. See ya! Thank you for watching. Our channel is here to meme the libs until they cry and then to meme them crying. Their tears, they taste just like sweet, delicious ice cream. Salty, too. We ridicule the establishment and the libs because of you. Your support keeps us going. So if you like what you saw, please punch the subscribe button, click like, and ring the little bell so that you know when we're live. Don't you want to know when we're live? And make sure that you subscribe to our email list just in case the plug gets pulled, as tends to happen. If you want to see more of our videos, click here or here. My name is Benny Johnson. Stay free, Base Patriots.